Welcome back to another episode of Void City Customization. I am Dan, and today we are going to be looking at a customized McFarlane Toys The Batman figure that I did some work on. On this side you can see the standard figure as if you would buy it at the store. This is just how it comes right here. And this is mine, where I have done a lot of changes. As you can see probably right off the bat, I have a new cloth cape on here, and it is wired as well. I will show you where I got the cape from, as well as how to put it onto this figure. I also did a little bit of paint on the chest, not too much at all, pretty much just on the chest here, on the Bat logo, and on his belt to add some silver highlights where there should have been. I also added a holster onto his leg straps here, where he should have had one, as you can see in the movie, which had his third grapple gun. And as you can see on the standard figure, he does not come with that. I also painted the straps so they would stand out more. And I will show you where I got the holster as well as how I attached it. I also made that third grapple gun for him, so he now has that one in addition to the one he comes with. Now the one he comes with typically pegs into his hand. I made that magnetic, and I will show you how I did that as well, so it now sticks in his hand. But as you can see, he's also got two additional grapple guns in his wrists, just as he does in the film. He has them built into his gauntlets, so he can fire them from both hands, from both sides. Now, they are missing from the McFarlane figure, but I have kind of done a little work around here. The sizing is a bit off, but, you know, it is what it is. You work with what you have. So there is that, and I'll show you how I did that as well. Those are also magnetic, and that's about it as far as the customization I did to this figure. It wasn't too much work to make it look a lot better and have more features than it came with. So let's dive right into where I started with those. So first things first, let's take a look at the cape, because it's kind of the biggest piece here and it's the most visible on this figure. So on the standard figure, as you can see here, the cape is a plastic piece, molded piece, all one part, that is stuck on him and glued on the front there, and it kind of comes down over the front of the chest piece right here, and I don't like that at all. I never have liked how that looks because it's not right. It should go down underneath behind the chest piece. So after a while, I was trying to figure out how I would redo this cape if I had the opportunity, and turns out there was a figure I found on Amazon that was also a 7-inch figure, and it came with a cloth cape. It was a DC Bendy Figs figure. Basically looks like this right here. It's, you know, just him in the suit. For some reason he has like fireman boots on. There's like a yellow stripe around there. That's not very movie accurate. Neither is the big yellow reflectors on his arms. I mean, it kind of defeats the purpose. He was always in the shadows, so having big reflectors on, you would have seen him coming a lot sooner. Would have ruined a lot of those scenes in the movie. So anyways, aside from coming with this really cool stand, which is awesome, except for the pegs, which are humongous and don't fit McFarlane figures, which is a shame, but something could be done about that, we'll see. It's still a really cool stand. So this guy came with a cloth cape. To get the cape off of this guy, all I had to do was pry the front chest piece off of him, which was very easy to do. I just pulled it off basically. It's glued on, but you know, I just pulled it out of there. I didn't even have to heat the figure or anything like that. Pull that off, and then it's glued right here and right here. So if you're very careful, you can kind of pull it off of the glue, which is what I did. I just peel it away, and I got the cape off all in one piece, and that was just fine. So now I have this guy. I'm going to keep him because there's a lot of pieces on his belt I think I could reuse and cut off of there if I ever have to, or even just the whole belt I could probably cut off there, I think. It looks like it's a separate piece, so I might be able to do something about that. He's got a lot of cool accessories on this belt. Also a lot of cool detail on this figure in general for being like one of these one-piece, just bendy, wobbly figures, you know, like that's pretty cool. I'm also probably going to keep him because he has the holster on his leg, and I could pull that off of here, and I could pull that off of him and use that on another Batman figure if I want to customize another one with the holster as well. This one wouldn't be a functional one because it is not hollow, as you can see. It's all one solid piece, but for looks it would look nice because I don't have another piece to make another grapple gun, so that was kind of a one-time thing. Yeah, so there's that. We'll get him out of the way. So now I've got that guy's cape, and I've got to put it on this guy. So the first thing I did was I peeled the cape off of my Batman figure. Starting right here, I just peeled up this edge, peeled up this edge. Again, I didn't even have to heat this. It just came right off. You might have to heat yours. Sometimes they have more glue, sometimes they have less. But I just peeled mine straight up and off, and it worked just fine. So that was that. The neck piece, like the collar, that stays on there, so make sure you save that. Make sure you don't peel that off if you can help it, because you're going to want to keep that on there. The cloth cape does not come with the collar, so keep this guy's collar. It's fine right where it is. So then that comes off. Underneath the back, you can see it kind of tabs into the back there. That you can just pull right out of there, or you can cut that off if you want. I think I cut mine off, but that was fine. But the front part just pulled right off, and that was all good. So that was that. Cape is off. So I'll show you where that leaves us. Let me remove some accessories from this guy here. We'll show you those later. I purposely left this unattached so I could remove it and show you guys how it attaches in here. So when you remove the cape from your Batman figure, he's going to look like this. And that's on the back. I did cut it off on the back, so I left the tab in there. I just cut it along there, and then I kind of like shaved it down just so it was flat along the surface. I mean, it's going to be covered up, so I don't really care. But it is crazy how much detail this one doesn't have on its back compared to the amount of detail that the Bendy fig has on its back, although that one had a cloth cape, so you'd be able to see it. So I get it. You couldn't really see this one's back, but still. So now, as you can see, there's kind of a slot down in there where something could get tucked in. So looks like there's room for that other cape to maybe be tucked in there. It's just they didn't do it right, or it wasn't thin enough, or whatever. It just doesn't fit. So the other cape does fit down inside of there. Here's what that cape looks like when you peel it off of the other guy. These are those two tabs that are glued, and if you take them off right, they should look like that. Now mine, I do have wires in there already. How I got the wires in is there's this seam that is sewed along the edge of this cape here, which has, as you can see, a very nice leather looking texture. It's really cool. I really like this cape. That's why I got it. It's for this kind of a figure. It was a surprisingly nice cape. Now at the very bottom, it's not sealed all the way around because it's so tiny. So there's like a tube here where the edge is sewn over. I have this wire just sitting around. So I, clipped some pieces that were as long as the edge of the cape and just ran them up inside very carefully as not to tear it or anything. And ran them all the way up to the very top, and then clipped the very edge so that it's slightly shorter than the bottom of the cape, so that, as you can see, it doesn't go all the way to the edge so you can't see it. And it's just held up in there by being curled over. It's not glued or anything, so I can remove it later if I want to. And then that helps when you just want to go over. And then these, you just tuck right in to those slots on his chest, and then it folds over. You could glue them in there if you wanted. I'm probably going to do that now that I've shown you guys. And then you have his cape, and then you can pose it how you want, or if you want, you can just leave it unwired, which is fine too. That's how I had it up until right before I shot this video, and I decided to give it a try, and it worked. So now I got to show you guys that as well. So let me put the cape back in, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Let me put the cape back in, then it sits right back in there. So around the back. You can pose it, you can drape it down the back, or you can have it blowing in the wind like I did when the video started. So one of the next things I did was the holster here, which is one of the holsters from a Red Hood action figure. So that's where I got that from. Now I use this because I wanted it to be functional, and I also wanted it to be solid. And the reason for that is how I stuck it on here. So it is Gorilla glued onto the side of his leg, but there is also a small nail. There's a very small nail. As you can see, there's the head of it right in there. You can still see it. I trimmed the nail down to be very short in length, but I actually used my smallest drill bit and I drilled a hole into the side of his leg right between the two straps there. There's these two straps for his holster. So I went right between there, where you can kind of still see the glue in there a little bit, just to reinforce it. And I used the nail to nail it in there, and then used the glue to glue the nail to the holster, and then the whole thing to his leg. So now it's kind of reinforced by both glue and also the pin into his leg. So that's not going anywhere. Now the reason for the holster is not for the grapple that he comes with. The grapple that he comes with is actually the one that comes out of his gauntlet. He actually has those in both of his gauntlets in the film, and they are always in there, and then they can actually propel into his hands on like a rail system, and he can use them at any time, both at the same time or individually. But on his hip he also had a holster with another grapple. So I made that out of a Terminator weapon. It actually looks very similar to this. So I used the handle from a Terminator laser gun and then the barrel from it, and I shaved it down, glued those together, and then drilled a hole in the front so he can have his actual grappling hook attached to it as well. So that's what that looked like, and I'll throw in an image on the side of what it actually looked like from the film so you can see how close this one is. It's actually very similar in shape. I also had this grappling hook. It's from another grapple gun from another Batman figure. This one from the Three Jokers Batman. And I cut it off of there so it just looks like the grappling hook. And that can go right in his grapple gun. So you can actually have him holding the real grapple gun, like the more powerful one, if you want as well. And that goes right in the holster. The next thing I did was silver paint highlights. I added silver on his belt here, on his carabiner, and on this other clip right here on his buckle. Some people do it on his canister here, but I just left that, and some people put some other stuff. I just left that. The only other place I put some silver was on his chest logo right here. Just kind of weather it a little bit, add some silver highlights. I thought it looked a lot better than just being the straight black color. And there's those highlights I did on his belt as well. There's another close-up of the holster with the grapple in it. Now, the next thing I did was magnetize his grapple that he comes with. So let's show you the original figure. So the original figure, here he is holding his grapple, which actually pegs right into his hand. As you can see, there's a giant hole in his hand, and this grapple comes with a big peg on the side of it that makes it almost look more like a fishing rod reel or something like that. I don't know. And that's how it goes onto his hand there. Well, I mean, that's just kind of goofy looking and not very accurate. So, for this one, I cut that peg off of there, and I used my smallest drill bit, and I drilled a hole into the side of it, and where that silver is right there, those are magnets. On Amazon, I ordered some itty bitty teeny tiny magnets. I'll show you these. I'm not going to get them too close to my camera because I don't want to destroy it. But this is like 100 or some 200, I don't even know. There's a lot of little itty bitty magnets. So you got to buy them in like kind of big groups like this. But these are, each one of these, as you can see, I'll try to zoom in as well as I can. These are itty bitty little tiny magnets, each one. So what I did is I put about 2 of them inside this grapple where I drilled the hole, and I Gorilla Glued them into there so they're stuck in there. And I did a little silver paint dry brush on the grapple as well, just kind of get a little detail so it wasn't flat black. Some of it's rubbed off, but it still looks, you know, a little more detailed, whatever. I did the same thing for his hand. I put several magnets inside of his hand, and I glued them in there, and then I painted them black so that they blended in with his hand. And now the grapple right to his hand there. So that's a lot nicer than that peg system, so it's a lot easier to do as well. Now if you go this route, one thing you really want to be careful of is making sure your magnets are all aiming the correct direction. So the very first thing I did was to put the magnets into my grapple, and I got those glued in there and let the glue dry. Then I got my next several magnets and I stacked them up in the cylinder that would go into the hand, and I stuck them to the grapple first. And then I marked the back end of them that was not stuck to the grapple with black so that I could see which side had to go into the hand. because if I were to flip that around and glue them into the hand backwards, every time he tried to put the grapple into his hand, it would shoot away from his hand, much like if you were a kid back in the 80s and you had the Superman figure that had the kryptonite ring with the magnet, and then Superman had a magnet in his chest, so then you could be like Lex Luthor and put the kryptonite by his chest, and it would make the Superman figure fall down because he was getting sick from the kryptonite. When I was a little kid, that was the coolest thing ever. I wore that kryptonite ring everywhere. I thought it was the greatest. So the next thing I did was I drilled a hole in his wrist here, in his gauntlet, in the side of his arm right there, just so that I could also put his grapple right there on his arm and have it kind of like it was in the movie, and that way I could have him pose like this on the shelf or do something like that. However, after a little bit I thought that looked a little bit too big and clunky, because truth be told, this grapple is far too big for the scale of the character. It should be maybe a third smaller than it is here. It should be a lot more compact and in his hand, because it would fit, you know, right up inside there. Actually, that's one detail this bendy fig also does get right, is on the inside of each of his gauntlets. You can actually see it there. So it should be a lot more like that size. Right here. So I thought, well, you know, I've got another one of these guys lying around. I got one of the Amazon Target copies that had the wrong collar. So what I did was, if you don't want to have this in his hand and you want to have him on his wrist, I actually took one and I cut it in half down the middle, as you can see right there, where it would have gone together. Actually, it still holds together because of the magnets. That was lucky. I had them facing the right way for both of them. So on the inside of there, drilled the tiniest of little holes and then put a magnet in each one, just one single little magnet. And as you can see how thin and tiny this is, I did not go through on either side. So you want to be very careful if you're doing something like that. I did that with a full-size drill that you guys have seen in past videos. And obviously there are far easier and smaller tools you could have done that with. And now, anyways, long story short, by repeating the magnets in the gauntlets on the other side, now you can have these things on there, and they're a lot more low profile. You don't have to worry about them as much being humongous when they're on there. And I think that just looks a little bit cooler, a little bit more like he does in the movie. So there he is. That is my customized The Batman figure with his wired cape, some extra paint, a holster, an additional grapple, some grapples for inside his gauntlets, and the magnetized grapple. He also's got his additional grapple here for his gun. It's his hook. And he's got his full-size grapple for his hand if you want to have that as well. So there you go. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, let me know what you think of the movie. Toast and I will probably be doing a review for that pretty soon. I just saw it. I thought it was great. Toast, I know, is watching that this week, and we will probably do an Is It Good episode about that in the future, I do imagine. So let us know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about the figure here, or let me know if you have any questions about any of the tools or techniques used in this one. Other than that, like and subscribe. I will have some more custom videos coming for you very soon. Got a lot of figures I just finished up and a lot of videos coming for you that I've been talking about for a long time. So keep it here every week for some Void City customs. And until next time, I am Dan. Thanks for watching here at Void City Reviews.